Zepbound appetite suppression and Wegovy appetite suppression that you may never have thought about. I for sure haven't. I'm really excited to talk about today's topic. I'm Elizabeth, Countess of Shopping. I've lost over 88 pounds being on a GLP-1 medication for the last 17 full months, going on 18 full months. And on today's episode, I was on Mounjaro, for folks who don't know, on Mounjaro because the Mounjaro shortage went on Zepbound. Because of the Zepbound shortage, I'm now on a compound, but my heart's desire is to go back to a brand name. And that may include Wegovy in the future. We shall see. But on today's episode, one of our amazing counts brought up a very interesting topic about appetite suppression on my retatrutide video. If you haven't seen that one, it's the one with the dinosaur of where it's an upcoming, still in clinical trials from Eli Lilly. And I talked about retatrutide versus, my dinosaur's head keeps falling off, tirzepatide, and then versus a semaglutide. So tirzepatide would be Zepbound and Mounjaro. Same thing, different FDA approvals for those. And semaglutide is Wegovy and Ozempic. You probably have heard of Ozempic. Same things, different FDA approvals for those. And in this conversation, it was in one of the comments, which are the source is Clokey, and thank you Clokey, by the way. He's an amazing count in our community, which is why I love our community so much. Was talking about appetite suppression, and I want to read some of the comments because it was so helpful for me of two schools of thought you may not have thought about during your GLP-1 journey, your weight loss journey, that it was very helpful for me to think about it, marinate on it, and then I actually talked to the count further about it. We just had Chipotle for dinner, and it was our dinner conversation. I'm like, we've got to talk about this. So basically what Clokey's my source on today's video. You guys know I require and demand that I'm factually accurate, so I always like to cite my sources on this one. So Clokey's my source on this one, is one of our fellow counts in the Countess of Shopping community. It was basically saying, talking about retatrutide was more like a semaglutide, meaning you do get hungry, and once you start eating, you get very full very quickly. This would lend itself to several meals in small days eating regimen. And so this is talking about semaglutide comparison to retatrutide, the new drug that's in clinical trials. It's not yet released. So if you hear people talking about retatrutide is on the market, it is not yet. It is still in clinical trials, just FYI on that. So talking about that in comparison of several small meals per day, as opposed to one big meal per day or intermittent fasting, which you can, and I'm interpreting this of what he's saying is, tirzepatide. Tirzepatide could lend itself to more intermittent fasting, and that's been my experience of more intermittent fasting of it, of having a air quote bigger meal. I prefer that versus smaller meals where you get fuller faster within eating those. And the additional comment in here was because could be helpful for people who do have disordered eating, of having the method of a tirzepatide, of having more so one of a larger meal. Now, you may be different. You may be on that tirzepatide, meaning Zepbound or Mounjaro, and with your appetite suppression, you may be like, I have tons of small meals and I get fuller quickly. You could be both, or you could be one or the other or reversed. But I find it interesting that there's a thread commonality that has been my experience of having tirzepatide. That's the only thing I've been on. I've never been on a semaglutide yet, which would be a Wegovy Ozempic, which is slightly less data in terms of weight loss, which we've talked about in other videos if you want like the data nerd component of that. So going through on here, it's talking about, I find this fascinating about the two components of having time from your meals, meaning more so the tirzepatide, meaning Mounjaro Zepbound. Would you rather have one large meal with the appetite suppression, or would you rather have, I've made props today, friends. You can tell I've been thinking a lot about this. More meals, but smaller portions of those. So you get to eat, you have smaller portions. And so you go from having this big this is supposed to be a chicken drumstick, by the way. You can tell art is not my forte, into these smaller meals. Now with tirzepatide on lower doses for me, when I was on like Mounjaro 2.5 milligrams or akin to Zepbound 2.5 milligrams, 5 milligrams, Mounjaro 7.5 milligrams, I had both smaller meals and also more frequency with the time in between. Now, having been on the highest possible dose, I have nowhere else to go. I've hit the ceiling, which is very frustrating. I wish to go higher, but I'm stuck. Which is why I always say titrate up slowly, friends, from my personal experience. Talk to your own healthcare provider. with being on Zepbound 15 milligrams, my time from meals is still good, but my portion sizes have definitely increased. They used to be a lot smaller when I started GLP-1 medication versus where I am now. I require more and there's nowhere else for me to go. And so if I could go up on a higher dose, I would suspect I would go back to how it was when I was titrating up, of where these meals have become bigger, but they will go back to being smaller once I'm able to do so. And time will tell. In upcoming year or years, the more doses will get added. But what this led to the conversation for the Count and I, and also with what Cloaky was saying and was alluding to in the comments, is having that satisfaction for you, something to think about when choosing between Wegovy for chronic obesity management versus Zepbound chronic obesity management, or if you're on Ozempic for type 2 diabetes versus Mounjaro for type 2 diabetes for the FDA approvals on there, of what is best for you for satisfaction and making it to be able to be long-term, right? Are you satisfied, and this is what my husband and I were talking about, of having one big meal and then just having just diving into that bigger meal, so to speak, but you're only having maybe one per day or maybe two bigger meals? Or is it more helpful for you to have smaller portions? You're still eating multiple smaller meals per day, but they're significantly smaller. Is that better for you, right? And I think this is a totally individualized conversation to be having with your healthcare provider when you're picking a semaglutide versus a tirzepatide, but also in terms of the long-term component of this. Like, I will be on, with the information I have right now, GLP-1 medication probably for the rest of my life because I have a GLP-1 deficiency. How do I know that? Because I was morbidly obese, over 100 pounds overweight, and now I'm being 88 pounds down. And yes, friends, I am well aware I've been stuck at that 88. You've been saying you've lost 88 pounds for a month now. I know, Sue, you don't need to tell me in the comments that I haven't lost weight this month. I already feel badly enough about it without people rubbing it in my face. I'm a turtle right now and I'm okay with that. Clearly I'm not okay with that, but I'm okay with I'm okay, but not okay with that. But for you, what the point that I'm trying to get at here is going back to that satisfaction component. For me personally, it's mentally harder for me, and what I've been working with a therapist on, and changing making these lifelong changes, and making permanent lifelong changes. It's harder for me, but I'm working on it, to have more meals that are smaller. I'd rather just have one big old meal, make it I just think of Winnie the Pooh when he shakes his little bum bum when he's going to the honey pot. That's kind of me when I have one big meal. I'm like, doot, 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 doot. And then I can hold off, I get everything in, and then I can just pause. I am somewhat an all or nothing personality style, so that works well for me. But my husband was saying, and I thought this was interesting, and it's what Cloaky said, the satisfaction long-term. Would that make sense long-term? And my husband's like, you probably would feel like you're missing out on things with having smaller meals on there. You may feel a sense of missing out or FOMO from that, or having less satisfaction long-term if you're not having these multiple smaller meals. And so I thought that was super, super interesting about going back to long-term strategy with GLP-1 medications as a patient, always talking with your own healthcare provider, of course. But I thought this was fascinating about what makes the best sense long-term. Ideally, in an ideal world, that retatrutide and these other drugs that are still in clinical trials, this is my example of the retatrutide. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. Ideally, that it would be both. You guys know I love talking about how this brain doctor, I was talking to this brain doctor, and she was saying it's a higher form of intelligence when you can come up with both answers as opposed to black and white answers, or one or the other. How can you do both? And my hope is that I could have both, of where it would be multiple, two small meals, but they're bigger. I don't know if that's achievable or not, but it's interesting that it seems to fall into those two buckets. I'm super curious. I'm taking an unofficial Countess of Shopping a poll. Tell me in the comments below, which one are you? What do you find? And if you're willing to put your dose, you don't have to. But are you finding that you have more of a one meal, with more of an intermittent fasting of doing one bigger meal? Or an OMAD, one meal a day? Or are you finding for your GLP-1 journey that you're having multiple smaller meals? They're just not as big, but you're still having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or lunch and dinner, or whatever. I'm super curious. I wanted to take my unofficial official poll here for Countess of Shopping. And then after thinking about it, I would love for you to think about it. Do you think that that's a good long-term strategy, right? And that got me thinking, is my 1 meal a day strategy long-term? Well, I'm continuing to get healthier and healthier with food. Clearly, there was a disordered level of eating, being 100 pounds overweight with food, right? Like it was a GLP-1 deficiency, but also going hand in hand. Eli Lilly tells us in our literature, we have got to make 2 permanent lifestyle changes, one with physical activity and the second one with new eating patterns. Does that lend itself to making those permanent lifestyle changes, right? Because I'm going to be on this medication more than likely the rest of my life. I don't have intentions to get off because it's changed my life. And knowing now, like it validates, oh my gosh, it was just a simple hormone deficiency that I've had that created so much pain. um, what's the best long-term strategy? I don't know. I don't know, because then here's the other side of that is if I'm not happy with but I am happy with my food. When I do 1 per day, I feel very happy. I'm like Winnie the Pooh. I shake my little booty as I go to the honey pot. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where Winnie the Pooh's like walking along with his little bum shaking. So I find this interesting about the appetite suppression and how different people are experiencing different levels with time versus smaller meals or both. I definitely have had both, but now being on the highest dose, it's definitely moved to like that bigger 1 chunk per day. Because I also find that I can't stop as easily. Now that I'm at this higher dose, I need to go higher, but I cannot. My meals have gotten progressively bigger, which is probably also why I haven't lost weight this month. And it stinks, by the way. Again, you don't need to remind me that I haven't lost any weight. I'm well aware, the scale and I are well aware that I have not lost weight with that. But my meals have progressively gone up. Like if I could put a little addendum B in here, like a little middleman, it would definitely be that my portion sizes from what they were when I first titrated up to the 15 milligrams to what they are now definitely are bigger. So, but some of the tools and techniques, because here's what, I don't like to just complain, and not that I'm complaining, but because I'm so grateful. My heart is so grateful to live at this time with GLP-1 medications. Thank you, Jesus. I am so grateful to be alive during this scientific revolution. As the GLP-1 dietitian says, that this is the revolutionizing time of like how akin to when penicillin came out, of how many millions of lives were saved. That is what's happening right now with GLP-1 medications. It is changing lives. And now that we're seeing that it's approved, FDA approval for sleep apnea, heart disease trial with reducing heart attacks and strokes and cardiovascular events by 20%. How we're seeing also now that alcohol use disorder, that new study that came out, it still needs to be studied. It needs to be in an official study, but it was a 50% reduction. I mean, hello, if you've got alcoholism in your family or drug use in your family, how tirzepatide or semaglutide GLP-1 medications can help. I mean, this is huge. So again, so much gratitude. So much gratitude. And I will take left, right, and sideways and twice on Sundays where I am now with being permanently on Zepbound 15 milligrams, but because of the shortage, I'm on compound. Which, by the way, if you're looking for a reputable telehealth that focuses on chronic obesity management, I use Join Fridays. You can use the discount code QUEEN, and the link is down in the description link below. That is very, very helpful for me. But making these permanent lifestyle changes with the food component has been really helpful to be under dietitian. And at Join Fridays, they do have weekly dietitian calls, group calls you can have. But my meal plan is totally free. I bought it for $500 from a dietitian. If you're watching this video and you've made it this far, you get to hear a secret, and you're in on the secret. And we're gonna do a secret coding, so I know that you know in the comments that you got my secret. But I will be having I bought another new meal plan for $500 from a GLP-1 dietitian who focuses in specifically on GLP-1 medication. And so I got a new one. So I'll have 2 free weekly meal plans for you. It also has a shopping list for you, the recipes, 17 plus protein recipes for you. I bought a second one because I know some of you guys are getting bored of that one. So we need to spice it up a little bit, spice up your life. So that will be coming out soon. I just got it back, and we've got a lot going on here at my household. We've got a family member with colon cancer, and so bear with me. I'm a little bit slower than I normally am, but that will be coming out soon to give to you totally for free. So that is linked down. The one I have that's already released is down in the description link below on countessofshopping.com, but just click the .. more button and then it will show my links if you click ... more a second time. YouTube made it very hard to get to all the links because I got a ton of free stuff for you. And then if you're needing help with some things, you guys know I talk about magnesium all the dang time because it was such a game changer for me. If you didn't see my sleep video that I talked about how my sleep changed, I had literally pulled up, I think I might have taken it off. Oh, I took it off. It was my sleep studies for my Oura Ring from using magnesium. Like I have scientific data of how it helps my sleep so much with this particular type of magnesium. There's 7 types in it versus the 1 type of magnesium I used to take, but there's 7 included in this one. You can use the discount code QUEEN. That's linked down below, but also helps with constipation. If you are having constipation on GLP-1 medication, magnesium, it's helped with my sleep, it's helped with anxiety, it's helped with constipation. I love it. I love it. I like shout. I'm like Quasimodo shouting from the bell tops. And then also they do have other, like a bunch of other supplements that I've been moving towards. I always like to allow myself several weeks to try things without adding too many different variables so I can give my honest opinion, right? I'm not gonna offer and share something unless I firmly believe in it and like rooted into it. So they have also their mushroom breakthrough. It's the mushroom plus collagen in there, and it helps with brain functions, which you guys know I'm a wife, a mom, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and excel at productivity. And so this is amazing. My favorite, by the way, is the salted caramel. You guys asked my favorite flavor, but they do have like chai, chocolate. There's other flavors you can get too, but I love this, love this, love this. And then they do also have an extra sleep breakthrough too that's helpful. And then they do have other things like probiotics and things like that too. So use the discount code QUEEN for those. Very, very helpful. And then the other thing that we had been talking about was my loose skin creams. Nothing's going to get rid of loose skin besides like a plastic surgeon. And I certainly have loose skin from my weight loss. And I did do intermittent fasting. So all you Dr. Fung lovers, I love Dr. Fung too. But I have on my Amazon shopping list my favorite for my body loose skin. But I did get this sent to me. And I'll link it here in the product so you can see the product. Here you can, everything else is on Amazon, on my Amazon shopping list. This actually, you can shop for here on YouTube. It's a new YouTube shopping feature. If you click on it right here, it says view products. You won't lose the video. You can shop and watch at the same time. But it's this neck cream. I like it quite a bit, actually, quite a bit. I'm gonna put a little bit on right now. I love the texture, I love the consistency, and I've been using it and I really love the way that it feels. I have a more expensive one that I usually recommend, but I think this is a good in-between price point. I like to offer different price points too, because I know everybody can't I wanna be cost effective too, because there's different, I wanna be budget inclusive is what I'm trying to do. So this one is also, and I think it's on sale right now. So check that one out if you were looking for some new neck creams or things to try. It's a really great texture, and I had if you guys saw a couple of episodes ago, I had an allergic reaction on my face. So my face was like a pumpkin head and it was red. So my face is still slightly swollen and my neck is still slightly red, but it's not from that. But I do like that neck cream quite a bit. So that is our appetite suppression for today. I find this fascinating. Now, if you have made it this far in the video, our bat signal or our emoji that we're going to do today is going to be a plate. So put a plate, like a cooking plate. Then that will tell me that you've made it this far in the video. It'll help me to get to know you better because I truly do care. And then the second part is I will pray over you. If you don't believe in prayer, no worries. I will uplift you in positive thought because all are welcome here at the Countess of Shopping table. And then secondly, your accountability question. What are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? What are you doing today to move you closer to your goals? I think this is important to hold each other accountable, me and you holding each other accountable. Today I had a very healthy dinner, high protein, focusing in on that protein. I had my shot yesterday and feeling good. Always shot day is always fun, and the day after shot day is always fun. And then for me, it gets less fun. Because then that appetite suppression's gone, basically, and then I'm back to like being in the salt mine, so to speak, of like grappling. And you know, I will take that grappling. As I say, I go back to being rooted in gratitude. I'm so grateful this is where I am. I'm so happy about that. And people in the comments, I love it, who are like, I just have no desire to eat. I'm like, cling on to that. I used to feel that way. That passed for me. Now my desire to eat is back. It's back. is back. Guess who's back? Back again. I feel like it's an Eminem song. That's the appetite suppression. So more information will be coming out, more will be revealed, but with what we do have, I'm super curious about the dichotomy of having one big meal versus smaller meals. Like, what is your experience? And we'll continue this conversation in my free weight loss encouragement group for GLP-1 folks. If you're on Mounjaro, by the way, but you want to do weight loss, great, join the group. You're welcome, or Ozempic. But folks who are on compounds are welcome at that group too. If you're on a semaglutide or tirzepatide, I certainly am. So it's a great group. I am a few days delayed admitting people into that group. Make sure you've answered all the questions. Please don't waste my time by not answering the questions. I have very limited time as it is, and that group is like my passion love project. I don't get really paid for that group, and so I do it because I want an encouraging private space to help lift each other up. So make sure you answer all the questions. If it's been more than like 4 days, email me. You probably got flagged as spam if your account's less than 4 years old or 5 years old on Facebook, or you didn't answer the questions. So, okay, sweet friends, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks, Clokey, by the way. A huge shout out to Clokey for his comments. I may not answer every comment, but I do read all the comments, and Clokey's comment in particular, it sparked our dinner conversation tonight. So thanks, Clokey. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. I'm Countess of Shopping. Count my blessings because life is delicious. I'll see you next time, friends. See you tomorrow.